KOCA 93.5 FM, Laramie's home for the holidays. Brought to you in part by Pole Mountain Pharmacy, dedicated to the health and wellness of Southeast Wyoming from their location at 4th and Harney. Chano's Village, 513 Boswell Drive, and our fine folks at 3830 Cherrywood Loop East. That's I-80 Towing and Automotive Services, serving Elk Mountain, Cheyenne, and Laramie right from here in the Gem City. Our guest in Studio 255 right now, Mike Schilt, continuing in segment 2 today. Good morning and welcome back. And what we were talking about in the last segment really introduced what brought you to your testimony November 18th to the Wyoming State Legislature. And that committee was, what committee was that?
It was called the Budget Revenue Committee.
Okay.
I believe it's called Joint Revenue Committee. And
very formal.
Yeah.
Very formal. Very important.
It was education. I had never done anything like that.
And the catalyst for you coming together is a number of observations through the years where funding not readily available in Albany County to serve the citizens, defraying expenses and so forth, because we have thousands and thousands of acres, parcels of land that are owned by the state.
Owned by the state, yeah. And so when going to the committee over there, I wanted to just let them know, well, because they're interested in what properties are tax exempt, why are they tax exempt, what does it take to have a tax exempt status, and then they asked me.
Not everybody gets invited to speak to the legislature. Not everybody that goes to Cheyenne is heard by the legislature. What led to your testimony November 18th, Mike?
So, well, I mentioned earlier that Clarence Stivar in Cheyenne, as the legislator over there, had contacted Chelsea Matthews.
Assessor Matthews, yeah.
Assessor Matthews about getting him some information regarding the land holdings and what's tax exempt, what isn't. I don't know exactly what he asked for, but she was able to get him the information. And at the same time that was going on, I was trying to figure out how,
You made a similar request of the assessor's office for information.
Yeah.
And Assessor Matthews therefore connected you to this?
She kind of got me in touch told me about this guy, so I looked him up on the legislative website, and I called him and talked to him about what I was thinking, and he said, well, he kind of asked me, well, what do you see that you think is an issue in Laramie? And I started telling him some things, and he's like, would you mind talking to, and he gave me Tony Locke, who is the chairman of that committee. He said, would you mind talking to Tony Locke and just telling him about this? So I got a hold of Tony Locke about the chairman and told him what was going on, and he goes, this kind of, we've been looking at this thing for a couple of years, trying to figure out how to make, and he said, you just exploded this thing. Like, this is way beyond what I thought the scope of our committee was going to be looking at. And he said, I want you to come over and talk to us about
What did you share with Locke? What did you share with him that led him to that
I don't
conclusion?
remember. I remember, and it wasn't really.
Well, just how about summarize your perspective on state holdings and the impact locally?
Well, so that it is that we have so much land in Albany County that's not on the tax rolls. We can't collect any taxes off of it because it's state money, being either state or university. I guess it's all state.
16,000 acres held by the University of Wyoming. 217,000 acres held by the state of Wyoming.
And that's
therefore untaxed in Albany County.
All tax exempt. Yeah. And so when I didn't have all those final numbers, I had kind of in my own mind had what I thought the numbers were going to be, but then when Chelsea Matthews got that information out, I was like, oh wow, this is way way more than I thought it was going to be. And so I contacted Tony again, and I said, put me on the dock. I want to speak, because I said this is something that people need to understand.
The calculations, I don't know what year this was for exactly, but Assessor Matthews' calculations, for correct me if I'm wrong, were that ag-related designation acreage valued at $400 an acre, and market valuation at $800 per acre. Therefore, estimated 38 million at 1% over 12 years. 1% tax over 12 years would amount to 38 million.
And actually, well, I guess just for your listeners, so if you want to, there's roughly 13,500 acres of land in Albany County that's acreage is owned by the University of Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
So
it wasn't 16.
So that's acreages around and one's a little parcel up by North Albany, way out in the north. There's a little parcel of land out there that somehow the university, probably a holding that somebody had, and what they donated it to the University of Wyoming.
Their estate donated it to
it's sitting out there, and you can go on the county assessor's website. You type in University of Wyoming and search, and you can go and look at every little piece of property.
Here it comes.
Yeah, but if you look on the outside, not Laramie proper, but outside the city, they've got little holdings all over the place, and some big ones too. They've got a pretty good sized ranch outside of Laramie to the north on Highway 34 and stuff. But anyway, so they've got all this land, and like you said, so the ag value, the tax value on the acreages could be anywhere from $36,000 to $69,000 a year, and that's just for the acreages. So now we go to the city proper. We've got there's 7,912 city lots. 7,912 city lots that the university owns inside the city of Laramie, which is a fair market value of almost $600 million. But that generates $4.1 million worth of taxes. That we don't get. Anyway, so then if you go beyond just the University of Wyoming, then you've got the state of Wyoming with their 211,000 acres, which is another $1.1 million worth of tax revenue that we're not. So there's.
Do you think it would be helpful, knowing that, to call for legislation that mandates that no government entity should hold more than X numbers of acres? Or do you think is it too arbitrary to say? You need probably to look at it on a case-by-case basis, but it certainly strikes me that a small parcel in a remote location of Albany County would be best returned to the state tax roll, the county tax roll, and therefore the university divest those parcels that don't make immediate impact,
right,
and go forth that way versus speculation. Is it speculative that calls them to keep these things, or why would you maintain those assets that were gifted? The university used to have a rec camp. They owned a rec camp above Centennial,
right,
and as I understand it, we used to do residence life training, and food service was the managers of that facility, and we would use it. They had 10 or 11 cabins, a central meeting lodge, if you will,
right,
and we used it very valuably. It was 30 minutes away, and it was second to none opportunity asset for student training and staff training and local area utilization, and the university sold it to a church,
right,
or what have you. Now, in that case, I thought why would you get rid of such an incredible opportunity that's so proximate to Laramie and the university and all of the 200 student organizations that can rent that facility affordably within the operation envelope of an umbrella of the University of Wyoming? But we no longer have that UW rec camp.
Yeah, well, and
but we have a parcel. We have a parcel in a remote spot that maybe it's got mineral rights. Maybe it has something of that nature. But isn't that to be benefiting the citizens and not the university as an entity itself?
Right, and I don't. I mean, I know where I can show you on the map where it's at.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it beyond that.
Your testimony was. What did you go in? What goals did you go into your testimony November 18th with, Mike?
My simple goal was just to get this in. We had this opportunity. If these guys if they didn't have a revenue committee that was actually trying to figure out why some lands are tax exempt, some aren't, how do we start managing this? Because it's become a problem. It's not just Laramie; it's statewide that there's these issues with taxable land. But I saw it as an opportunity. When Clarence Stivar, Cheyenne, contacted Chelsea, and he was looking for information, I saw this as an opportunity to say, "Hey, we can present this to the state now. We can take it to the legislature. They're listening, and you know, I was kind of nervous when I went over there, but
imagine that
my purpose was." I had a purpose, and that was just to get this information out so people know it, not just Laramie people. The people are Laramie's oblivious to what goes on around in Laramie. Seriously, there's a lot of people that are like, so what's the big deal? Who cares if we're losing $5 million a year in tax revenue? I'm like, well, I guess if that doesn't mean anything, then that doesn't mean anything to you.
Well,
for me, it's a lot.
Just imagine if you didn't have to pay your share of taxes this year. What would the impact in 1 year be for you and your family? And that's what we're talking about with this amount of money.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? The sky's not the limit, but there's a lot of possibilities for the county. And like I said, I want to see our infrastructure. I think our
EMS services
is number one,
big on your list,
and then infrastructure.
Yeah,
those two things. And if you develop those things, you can bring businesses in. People want, business coming in wants to see, this community's got sound infrastructure. They're taking care of their water, their sewer, utilities, the landfill, their dump. That's all of it. If they come in and they say, well, that looks like a community we want to be in. Well, it helps if your city council works with them too. But that aside, it makes Laramie sellable to people that want to come in and see that.
Do people want to own a home or rent a home in your estimation?
Well, people that I know want to own. No, I don't know if I know anybody that would rather rent a home.
So people, would you say it's more accurate than not that people rent a home out of convenience or a choice amidst their choices? They might not have the choice to have money down to purchase a home. Well, homes might not be affordable. Affordable housing might be a rental, but what checks are there on rentals maintaining affordability? What audits happen to make sure that complexes that are built under subsidies or what have you, support for dense housing? You can't get denser housing than Downey Hall, Orr Hall, McIntyre Hall in Laramie.
Right.
That's 52 beds per floor. 11 floors in McIntyre rentable space to have beds for people with roofs over their heads. Better than tents by a long shot.
Yes.
And with the absence of housing on the Albany County LCCC campus, the Laramie County Community College not having housing for their students, it makes it quite easy to see that could be a usable quasi utilization,
Yeah.
multi-organizational utilization of Downey Hall, Orr Hall, and McIntyre Hall. It also stands to reason that Wyotech might, in and of itself, it also stands to reason that Wyotech is a student body that could benefit by having access to this uniform housing. When I directed housing for Wyotech, I had 24 buildings, 11 separate areas of Laramie that I was in charge of. Now that alone led me to revel at consolidated housing opportunities. I could have 11 staff have operation as paraprofessionals of one facility versus 11 facilities, right? And in any event, there's a multitude of opportunities, but if we don't talk, listen, we will fail to learn what's possible.
Right. Yeah. And that was my reason to go to Cheyenne.
The information that you took to Cheyenne, did it open some eyes?
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually surprised.
Were you surprised that they were unaware?
I was. Well,
or do you believe that they were truly unaware?
So when I first presented it, and I was very appreciative because they all had thoughtful questions. There wasn't anybody felt like they were being attacked or like they genuinely wanted the information,
I viewed it, and they were very respectful of your time.
Oh, they were very respectful. And in fact, I got way more time than I thought. When I originally went in, we thought we were going to get 10 minutes to present, but they asked questions for half an hour, which was awesome.
That is great. That is great.
They were generally interested. They generally saw a need that it was much bigger than the scope of what they had planned on.
You were absolutely, to me, most credible in your even temper through the entirety. You didn't overcommit. You didn't stretch beyond. You often referred to the LSO. Maybe they could prepare that information for you guys to make that decision. It's really important,
right,
that you do all that's possible to do. I mean, you were so respectful, Mike, in that presentation. Assessor Matthews, equally so in generating the data. You guys did what you were asked, and how did you feel through the November 18th session with the legislators?
I thought it went really well.
What's the next step? What's the next step in your estimation?
So, they voted not to pursue it right now, but in the interim, so next year they're going to pick it up again, it looks like. Why do you think it's not important enough to deal with this year? Why do you think it's not important enough to deal with now? You said earlier that they had been working on this for a couple of years now. How long does it take truly to work on these things? When I sometimes think we study so much, we research so much, and the answer is right in the mirror. Do it. You're all coming to this consensus. Why do we not know? Well, I think it was so new to some of them that they didn't know what to do with it. Because I had some people after the commit after the.
Is that political convenience, though, Mike? Isn't that gamesmanship?
Yeah.
This is housing. This is safety, public service safety. This is flooded neighborhoods. This is the impact. There's a ripple effect in everything that's going on, and this is life endangerment in some cases. Basements flood. It can happen in the night. Power can go out, and you don't get a warning. You don't get a second chance. And what happens when a life is lost because this oversight got put off another year?
Right.
This impact is genuinely now. It's not later. And it's really amazing to me that statutes are ignored, rules are broken by our government representation alone, local, state, federal, we don't hold ourselves accountable. How can we hold others accountable?
Right.
It's kind of like the rules for me do not apply to thee.
Well, we kind of see that on a national scale too, don't we?
Yeah, local, state, federal. It's like and maybe world.
Yeah.
What are we in control of, Mike? What can we do as citizens to help move this along with greater urgency, in your estimation?
Contact legislators.
Okay.
Yeah, just go to the legislative website and you can pull up the
Contact information for every one of them.
yeah, just get contact info. It's super easy to do.
Do the same locally.
Do the same locally. Contact your city council and
cityoflaramie.org.
City of Laramie, yep, and just get this information out and say, hey, we really think that there's some validity that this tax loss that we're seeing, and you know, the storm sewer issue, it's a legitimate issue. I'm not saying it isn't, but it's been ongoing in Laramie since I was a kid. We used to flood Laramie lanes in that part of town. Used to just sandbag when the big storms came through, and
when the gutters flood, we get the boats out as kids, right? We make our little crafts and we have boat races with toothpicks and
Right.
Logs and whatever we could find that would float. We'd race and we'd make games out of these things years ago. Well, it's no longer a game when
Right.
people's lives can be in jeopardy. Now, how we fund utilities and so forth could be very easily resolved or complemented, assisted, and aided with payment in lieu of tax monies coming to
Right.
a governmental entity from another area of government.
You know, in my opinion, I think that it's better for the cities and the counties to hold the money than it is for the state to hold the money.
You like local control.
Well, I think it's more beneficial to
Okay.
locally. I do. I mean, it's not,
Locals get depended on to implement it, don't they?
yeah.
State, they're employed by the federal government expected to do these things,
Right.
or they don't qualify for these funds. Yeah,
So,
there's
you know,
that.
I mean, both systems are important, but when you're relying totally on the state to take care of you and they're not, you're out of options. What do you do?
What are you continuing to do personally that others might be interested in following or assisting with, perhaps, Mike?
Well, right now, like just me doing this, going to the legislature, I've had some people contact me about, like Brent Bean. Brent Bean called me one day and wanted to talk about this because he just said, thank you for going over to Cheyenne and doing that because it's needed to be done for a long time. So, you know, he saw that.
How many legislators were on the committee that you spoke to November 18th?
13 or 14, I can't remember.
Because you could only see two or three maybe on camera.
Yeah, I can't remember. I counted them. There was 13 or 14 of them there. That might have been 14.
That's a big committee.
Yeah.
Big committee.
And like I said, you can go to the WyoLeg and look it up, see who they are, contact them.
Google or use your search engine, State of Wyoming, Government Legislature, and you're looking at the revenue.
Yeah, it's called WyoLeg.gov. WyoLeg.gov.
WYOLEG.gov.
And then just pull up the legislator. You can see the different committees, or the different committees. You can pull them up, and it'll give you go to the committees, and you see who the people are, and that's I got contact information for all the people that were on that committee that I spoke to, and some of them I've gotten back in touch with that because if they're talking about maybe picking this up next year and doing something with it, I want to know what I can be doing now, more information. Do we need to gather?
So you're even, if I was to speculate, you probably, based on your findings, you found enough research driven data to support denying a fifth penny, sixth penny, or seven penny sales tax when resources like this are available, held by the state of Wyoming and held by government without benefiting the public directly,
And I'm
immediately.
actually kind of surprised. Well,
And I don't want to overstate that. Is that do you
Oh,
agree?
yeah. I'm actually surprised that city council, city manager, that somebody didn't pick this up years ago, because it's so obvious. But
Do you think that government entities decline to bring focus to other government entities for fear of greater reflection on their own actions? Do you think when you highlight something in another direction, there's always a light that's refracted back on you, right?
Right.
There's always going to be a closer look. So if city of Laramie draws more attention to the state of Wyoming, does the state of Wyoming in turn give more attention to the city of Laramie through maybe litigation or other mechanisms of government interaction, public interaction?
Yeah, I don't know. And that was Phil Nichols, he's an attorney here in town.
Yeah, okay.
So a couple of years ago, actually several years ago now, I remember he would kind of, not this same issue, but it was trying to figure out how to get some more money.
He was credited in that November 18th video as being very, very on top of the matter of impact to Albany County.
And he was coming from it through the, I can't remember what it's called. It's the distribution of funds. So there's a statewide distribution of funds that's given around the state, I think there's 99 cities in the state, and there's a distribution of funds that come from minerals, royalties, things that are paid to the state, and then it's divided up amongst the cities based on population. I think there's there's a couple different criteria for this distribution, and I think
that's how they equal out resources per county.
Yeah.
For the state.
And
like if one county's mineral rich, they disperse that more evenly across the state of Wyoming as a whole.
Which is, I think,
schools available in Medicine Bow, Wyoming, should be comparable for each one of those students to those schools in Gillette, Wyoming, or Cheyenne, Wyoming, or Laramie, Wyoming, right?
Yeah, and we're not talking about socialism.
Theoretically,
we're talking about if one part of the state is benefiting, if they have such an excess, why not help the rest of the state?
The state of Wyoming is only as good as its weakest.
Right, and we're one of the poorest counties in the. We've got the University of Wyoming, and so much supposedly going for us. We're one of the poorest counties in the state. Well, that's just because we have no mineral. We have nothing else to fall back.
Well, and it's also a factor impacted by resource allocation, resource prioritization, resource identification, contract government, and those it's not about poor, it's about how well we do with what we have.
Manage what we have, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. Are we managing stewardship? Are we being good stewards of what we have? Or are we not being good stewards of what we have?
I'm going to go to a break here, Mike, but I'd like to come back and talk about state of Wyoming cabin in the roster of land holdings. This on the Talk Shop in Studio 255. I'm Eric Henderson with Mike Schilt, and we'll be back in a moment.